Hello, check, test, 1, 2, audio check. Hello, check, test. Awesome. Good evening, everybody. It's sure nice to be here tonight with y'all. Back for another live stream. Got some interesting things to chat about tonight. Of course, as always, we'll drag our feet a little bit until we get a few more people connected. It's really weird. I have this screen that tells me my statistics and various other information about the live stream itself. Its health, who's online. I mean, not who, because I have no idea. Unless you put something over in the chat window, I don't know who's watching. So YouTube is pretty good that way about providing you anonymity. I think that's how you say it. Anyway, it's funny because just as soon as the stream started here, just 2 minutes ago now, I went from like 6 people waiting to 2, and now it's slowly climbing back up. Well, anyway, it's sure nice to have everybody here tonight. It's been a cold, dreary, ugly week. I missed Sunday posting an updated video for the truck camper renovation because, frankly, I didn't have anything ready. It's been so cold and nasty. I just have been undermotivated, so I've been streaming a lot of Perry Mason. It's funny. I could generally, it's funny, I like to get to the end, and sometimes I've got it figured out. For those of you that have watched Perry Mason in the past, probably know what I'm talking about. And then sometimes it's just like out of the blue. But interesting show from back in the early 60s. Anyway, let's go over and check and see who is here. If you are here and you want to be recognized, just drop a comment over in the chat window. Let us know where you're watching from. Tom Downey, our friend, is in from Texas. He'll be headed back to Whidbey Island, his home, here soon. Tom, it's always nice to have you here. And of course, Vincent Bus to RV Life is in the house tonight. Vincent, great to have you here. I know that we are on Instagram together, and so we catch posts from each other there. But I don't know if I've ever seen you in a live chat, so it's super nice to have you here, Vincent. Rich Kirby's in. Hi, Rich. We will be chatting about your question tonight, which reminds me, if you want to submit a question in advance, there's probably the easiest way to do it is just to kick me an email, trbolin@gmail.com. Again, trbolin@gmail.com. I like getting them in advance because that way I can prepare a good answer for you, and then also we can kind of go back and forth a little bit if you're asking a question about a particular problem. So anyway, yeah, that's just trbolin@gmail.com. E Squared's in from Michigan, and we were both bemoaning the fact that it's cold and nasty. We get these inversions here. We get high pressure sitting on top of us, and with everybody burning their fireplaces and that kind of stuff, it gets really smoky. It's been really cloudy and foggy. The last couple of days it's been super foggy. But, as I mentioned to E Squared, we were half through winter as of yesterday. So at least we're on the downhill slide now. And the days are getting longer too. Let's see who else is in tonight. Tim Myers is in. Tim, I hope you're feeling better. Hope you got over that COVID crap and putting it behind you. We've got Randy Waller's in. Hi, Randy. Awesome to have you here from Iowa. And then Judy from Louisiana. Hi, all. Super nice to have you here. Oh, great. Well, Vincent says he's watched all of the past live streams, but this is the first Tuesday night he's been available. So great. Well, it's super nice to have you here, Vincent. Well, I don't know. What how do you connect Vincent to Is Vincent your bus, Bruce? Bruce, by the way, is my brother's name. So, hello, Aaron. Great to see you in. Randy's saying 17 below in Iowa. Ugh. Yeah, we've had one below has been the coldest it's been this winter. Last winter it only got down to 7 degrees. That was the coldest it's been. According to my weather station, I have one of them weather stations that, because I'm a weather nerd. Okay, Tom Downey says, question. My inner dual wheel is mounted so that I can't check pressure. Is that important? Well, yes. Yes. The I have a story about an inner dual blowout. I think I've made it. You probably heard me tell this story, and so I probably won't repeat that story. But yeah, it's really important to be able to check those tires. My suggestion would be to take it to your favorite tire shop and have them remount it, and then have them put some longer valve stems on, so that the valve stem actually sticks out through the holes of the outer dual. That's what I did, and it sure made it a lot easier to check. But I did have a low tire. I guess this would have been 2 summers ago, and I took it and to get it repaired. And I'll be damned, I didn't catch it. But they put the tires back together, and they left my extension off on one of the inside duals, which has been a huge pain in the butt, because to get I have a tire pressure monitoring system, TPMS, and to get their little dongle back on it it's really difficult. But yeah, I would do what I could to get that checked. Tom, a blown tire can be real expensive, and it'll ruin your trip really fast. Excuse me. Tim says he's all good, just have the fuzzy brain stuff going on, it will pass. Hello, Two Feathers, it's awesome to have you here. I lose track of the days all the time. I guess that's just a side effect of being retired, that you don't have a lot of you don't have a lot of things scheduled. Particularly in the winter like this, I tend to just hole up and kind of hunker down. I was wishing really hard here the other day, though, that I was in Arizona, where it's at least somewhat warmer. But next winter we'll probably get down there, that's for sure. Vincent, bus to RV life. Okay, I got you. Vincent was your bus that you sold, and you're transitioning to RV life. Okay, I understand. It's hard to catch. Here's the deal with social media, Instagram, Facebook, all those things. I'm not on there all the time. I usually check Instagram maybe once a day if I think about it. And I'm not really good about going all the way back. And everybody knows, that are on those social media platforms that, lots of stuff get posted. So I miss a lot of stuff that I wish I would have saw afterwards, but I just don't have I'm just not that into social media, I guess. Anyway, yeah, it's so nice to have you here, Vincent. And then Tom, I totally agree with you. It is a real pain in the ass to change the position of those, because you got to take the tires, you got to bust both tires loose. And I guess I learned a lesson that, I'm going to, next time, make sure that they get the stem in the position that I can actually service the tire. But yeah, I totally agree that it is difficult. Okay, so we're 10 minutes into it. Let's trip over to real quick and chat about Rich's question. Now, For those of you that have been on the stream for a while or know, Richard, uh, purchased Rusty, my Class A, as I transition into my my truck camper and expedition type travel. And so he is looking for a toad, and he's been working on me to sell my Subaru, and I just love my Subaru. But he says he spent about 2 hours on the phone with the Subaru dealer looking to purchase a new Crosstrek. In the end, they said Subaru says you can't tow a Subaru 4-down because of their 4-wheel drive, even with a manual transmission. He says he thinks they're full of it. Shh. Anyway, here's the deal. In 2014 was the last year that you could tow the Crosstrek 4-down. And I'll be honest with you, I've argued with 3 different Subaru dealers, having been a nomad for a while and having traveled around quite a bit. I'm very, some people might say, anal about my maintenance. I just try to stay on top of it. And with respect to my car, I generally go to the Subaru dealer. I've had the oil changed a couple times at the Jiffy Lubes and those sorts of things of the world. But I tend to go to the dealer for that kind of stuff, at least when I was traveling. Now that I have a place where I can actually work on vehicles, I might start doing some of my own maintenance. But the deal is that in the 15 model year, at least on the Crosstreks, they changed the transmission design, and they moved maybe people don't know this, so I'll give you just a little background. A lot of transmissions have an oil pump in them. All automatic transmissions depend on the oil pump. And there's a couple of ways that those oil pumps work. The Subaru that I have, the 14, the oil pump was driven off the output shaft of the transmission. And so when you're rolling down the road, even when you're not driving it, the oil was circulating through the transmission and everything was good. Now there's a number of other toads out there. The Jeeps can be towed. The reason the Jeeps can be towed is they have a transfer case. And when you put the transfer case in neutral, then the transmission doesn't turn, okay? And with the transfer case design as it is, there's usually a huge chain in those transfer cases, and that runs through the oil, and it keeps the oil slinging around. So even though the transfer case may be turning, the input shafts are turning, there's oil moving through the transfer case, which keeps it from burning up, okay? So there's only a couple vehicles that you can tow 4-down. Well, I think there's a few more now, but the Hondas are really popular for that because they can be towed 4-down. There's a couple of Buicks, and I don't know the exact ones, that can be towed 4-down. There's some that can be towed, but they have really specific things that you have to do. For example, I know that in some cases, some of the GM transmissions can be towed 4-down, but you have to stop and start the rig every couple hundred miles, and I'm assuming that's probably to move oil through that transmission and keep it from burning up. So anyway, Rich is having a problem finding a toad because he's tall. He's 6'4", and I think he really wants a pickup. And I think that's probably a good call, and he wants a Ford. And I'll tell you right now, the Fords are expensive. The most popular pickup for 40 years running, if you believe the advertising, and I believe that's probably true. I've owned a couple Ford trucks myself. But anyway, So he's looking for a toad, and he's wanting to know what are folks using for their toads. And so drop a comment over there. I see a few coming in already, which is perfect. And we'll jump down to those in just a sec. We'll run through the chat window here real quick and remind folks to drop a comment if you're so inclined. And let us know what your toad is if you have a toad. Tom Downey says trailer it. Okay, yeah, some people like to trailer. Some people have enclosed toy haulers and all kinds of stuff. I found that, the toy haulers and stuff like that, well, when I say toy haulers, I don't mean like the trailer toy haulers. I mean, like, I have a friend of mine who has a Super C. It's more like a Class A. It's a 40-foot Freightliner truck, but then he has like a 30-foot trailer, and he pulls, he's got a motorcycle and he keeps his car in it. It's even got a deck inside that lifts up. You've seen them, if you watch NASCAR or any of the racing guys. A lot of them will have these trailers with the lifts inside of them. And anyway, so trailering is definitely an option. I personally found, because I had a toad and a tow dolly, I towed my VW Jetta. I had the VW Jetta TDI, and I towed it on a dolly, and I got in trouble with it a couple times. The problem with the dolly was you couldn't back it up. It's a triple pivot, and there's a lot that goes into it, so we won't go into that too deep. Roundtown Scouter's in. Hi, great to see you in from Carlsbad. Oh, hi, Linda. Camp Goer 1's in. She went to the Rubber Tramp Rally, which is over in Quartzsite, and she's currently at the campsite around the fire with Box Fan D and friends. Awesome. Well, it's great to have you here, Linda. I watched your, are you in your pickup, the one that you were working on the other day on your channel? By the way, Camp Goer 1, Linda has a YouTube channel. She posts some pretty cute videos over there. So you might want to run over and check out her channel and subscribe if you're so inclined. Aaron reports his toad is a Dodge Dakota. Okay, great. Is there anything special you have to do with that, Tim? Or Aaron, I imagine you just throw that in, take the transfer case, put it in neutral, and go down the road. I know that John Besmick, who is a usual regular viewer, he's told us a pickup as well, because he was asking about his hitch last week. Apparently he had a problem with it. Tim Myers, okay, there we go. CRV, the Honda CRV, only good for four-wheel down up through 2014. 2015 and newer cannot be towed four down. Okay. Yeah, the CRVs are very popular. You see a lot of people towing CRVs. We will see here. Two Feathers. She says, I've had 4 Subarus. Best car ever. They can go anywhere. One had 413,000 miles on it, and I sold it for $500. I would agree, Two Feathers. I love my Subaru. I've had 3 Subarus in the past. I had a Subaru Brat pickup back in the 80s, and it basically rusted away. Yeah, I've had several Subarus, and my Crosstrek has taken me places that I would have never imagined it could take you. I was down in Ocotillo Wells at the, what do they call it? Ocotillo Wells Long Off-Road Recreation Area or whatever. And it's sandy desert area, and I had driven into, I'd driven into some artesian wells that were out there. In fact, all around down the Salton Sea, there's geothermal activity, there's a lot of artesian type wells, those sorts of things. And so I got in there, and I was just going in to take pictures, that kind of stuff. And I got in there, and I was taking some pictures, and then here comes some guys in some Jeeps. And the guy come up to me, and he says, how the hell did you get in here? I says, I drove in just like you guys did. Oh, no, you didn't drive that thing in that road we just came up. And I said, well, I only know of one road. At least that's what I could find on the map, and that's the one I came in on. And he argued with me for a few minutes. And I says, well, if you don't believe me, you could stand right here and watch me because I'm going out that way. So I love my Subaru. It has taken me lots of places. And It's just it's a good solid car. Now it's not a race car, okay? The 2-liter Boxer is not known for being a super strong, high powered engine, but I consistently get 30 miles to gallon on it. And so yeah, I've been really happy with it. Tim Myers just commented over to Aaron. He says he just bought a Dakota to be his second Toad. Good call. Vincent Bus to RV Life says towing is just what we have begun to research. Timely subject. Yeah, thank you. To me, this is me. Everybody has their own. I think towing 4-down is the best, and here's why. When I had the Toad that I had on the tow dolly, my Jetta, to get that set up and get going down the road would take about between 15 and 20 minutes. By the time you get up on there and you get the wheels all tied down and all of that sort of stuff, and check it, and I had a very strict routine when I would hook up my rig. I still do a safety checklist. For a long time I had it on my phone. I had done it enough now that it's in my head, and I got pretty good about not missing stuff. So anyway, towing 4-down, it takes me 5 minutes to hook up or unhook. And I just found that the convenience of being able to tow 4-down was so much better. The second thing is if you have some kind of a tow dolly or a trailer, then when you get to your location, in a lot of places, it's rare that you're going to have space to park that trailer on site. You may have to put it somewhere else. So that, I think, is a bit of a problem, because how do you move the trailer? Well, you got to move your RV over there and push the trailer in. I mean, unless maybe you have a trailer hitch on your tow vehicle, and you can use your Toad to move the trailer. I mean, there's lots of stuff that could work into that. But yeah, there are guides out there that are written by people who know this stuff much better than I do. The problem it comes into it, I had a friend of mine ask me about drones the other day, and I will tell my drone story here in a minute. Let me make myself a note. And why I don't have a drone. And I said, well, I don't have any real first-hand experience. I haven't really been researching it, so I don't know what to recommend, if you're, because she was asking me the best drone for under $300, those kinds of questions. I get those all the time. So I couldn't say. I think the older Subarus have been great. I mean, I know a lot of people that tow pickups here. We have a couple folks here that are getting ready or towing already the Dodge Dakotas, which are nice looking rigs. The Honda CRVs are really popular, but the Jeeps, you see tons of people towing Jeeps. And again, I think it's because they're so easy to tow and set up to tow 4-down. So, I think those are the ones that are there. Metroid 2099, I will answer your question in just a bit. Linda says her internet's buffering. Well, I'm not surprised, and let's chat briefly about that. The area around Quartzsite gets busy in the winter. This time of the year, it gets super busy. The big tent's on. There's lots of people there. And for those that don't know, the big tent is just this big tent they set up in Quartzsite, and it has a lot of, some RVing related stuff, and then it's like a county fair. You go to the county fair, you go to the commercial exhibits, and there's people there selling, glass cleaning cloths and, that kind of stuff. And so I found that a lot of times, that that's what was at the big tent. So the problem is that the cellular networks build their networks according to the average population of an area. There's a lot of things that go into it, but they look at the census data, they look at growth data, they look at all this stuff, and then they determine where to place their cell towers. I'm sure full of stuff here tonight. Sorry about that. I might have to go get another drink of water here. Anyway, the long short story is that you get all the snowbirds together, or you get a lot of people in an area, and that cellular network is not designed for that, so everybody starts to suffer. They start to buffer like that. So, it's great that you're here, and but I totally get why you're getting the buffering there, and it's particularly bad this time of the year down around Quartzsite. I know a lot of people that have been there and have discovered that. I will answer your question next, Metroid, but I wanted to say real quick, if you like what you're seeing, those thumbs up are greatly appreciated. They help get their video ranked up and more people get a chance to see it. If you're not subscribed, please do subscribe. Ring the notification bell. I try to put out decent content, and I hope that people enjoy it. And so, every little bit helps get people's attention on YouTube. The other thing is that my website at trbolin.com is a wealth of information. Plus, I post a lot of stuff up there that's not directly related to RVing, like a lot of my photography and stuff. I've had a really big run on the photography stuff on my website here in the last couple months. It's really weird, the life, if you watch these things and how they work. I mean, as far as people interacting and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, if you'd run over to my website at trbolin, that would be trbolin.com. I see that Peter Winter is in tonight. Peter, thank you so much. Peter reached out to me today and wanted the link to my Amazon store. And then that's another way you can support the channel if you're so inclined. It's completely anonymous. I don't know who's buying what on Amazon. I just see that somebody bought a book or they bought, something. But every little bit helps. When you start thinking about cameras and equipment and internet access and that kind of stuff, it gets expensive pretty fast. And so yeah, and that really, I use all my Amazon stuff, which isn't much. I mean, my biggest month on Amazon might be $100. That goes right back into supporting and keeping the channel going. So your support is greatly appreciated. Okay, commercial's over. Let's get back to the chat window. Don't forget, if you do have an RV-related question, throw it over in the chat window. Metroid2099 says, I'm a first-time buyer looking for a fifth wheel as a full-time live-in option for the next few years or longer. Where should I start? I've watched plenty of vids, but I'm not sure where to start. Okay, so let's take a few minutes and talk about that. You want to live in it full-time. I'm assuming you're prepared to put the bulk of your stuff in storage or sell it. I would, having done this, there's some things that I got rid of when I went full-time that I kind of wish I hadn't have, like a lot of my tools and stuff, because now I'm having to reaccumulate them. Now, it's something that I mean, it is what it is. You can't look back and say, shoulda, coulda, woulda. I mean, I guess you can, but I try not to. So I would start by understanding what you want to keep, and then those sorts of things. The second thing is that how are you going to use the rig? A fifth wheel, you need to understand, is your pickup big enough to tow it? So that would be a good place to start. Do I have a pickup, and how big a fifth wheel do I need? Size is probably something you need to think about. If you're going to full-time in it, I would recommend to get the largest fifth wheel you can, lengthwise, and still feel comfortable towing it, backing it up, those sorts of things. Okay? Because when you start to live full-time, space becomes a real issue sometimes. Particularly for if you're two people. Now, I'm a single fellow, right? And even then, I had to think about what I was going to carry with me. And then maybe the functionality of the fifth wheel. I'll tell you right now, I would recommend that you get a little bit older fifth wheel, say 3 to 4 years, 5 years old. I think you're going to be able to find a really good deal on an older fifth wheel, and so that would be a thing to start to think about. And then the functions and features that you couldn't live without, I think, is probably the next thing to think about. Now, to be honest with you, nearly every RV today, whether it be a fifth wheel, a travel trailer, Class A, B, C, whatever it might be, they're going to have your microwave, your TV, your fridge, your stove. I mean, your basic living accoutrements are going to be there. And so after that, it's just the comfort, and it's the what can I not live without. And so what I would do if it were me looking to purchase another RV for the first time, or I mean, I've had many RVs, but I would sit down and I would list the things that I can't live without. All right? And do that with your partner. I need this much closet space. We'd like to have a separate shower from the bathroom. We would like to have an island. I wintered in Tucson for a number of years, and the folks across from me at the RV park that I wintered in, they had a beautiful Montana that had an island. I hadn't seen, and I've seen it since, but I hadn't seen up to that point an island in a fifth wheel, and it was really cool. They had a very nice fifth wheel, an older Montana. So if I was to list it in the order of priority, where to start would be to figure out what you absolutely have to live comfortably. Don't chintz on it, okay? And when I mean live comfortably, I mean I want to be able to carry my kayaks, I want to carry my golf clubs, I want to carry whatever, right? Keep in mind that all your recreational things, because why are you buying an RV to go travel around if you don't carry your recreational stuff with you, right? Golf clubs, whatever, right? Hiking gear usually doesn't take a lot of space, but yeah, kayaks or rubber rafts or stuff like that, I think is what do you need to haul with you. Write all that out and then start looking for fifth wheels. Now, RV Trader is a great place to look for RVs. RV Trader will have a lot of commercial listings, and then there'll be a lot of private party listings. And so that's a good place to start looking. That will also give you a sense for how much money it's going to cost to buy a certain size RV, say a 34-foot fifth wheel or a 28-foot fifth wheel or whatever the case may be. But that'll get you an idea of kind of what budget you need to establish for yourself. And then get it inspected before you buy it. Spend the money, hire an inspector, somebody very familiar with RVs to come over and look at it. And make sure that it doesn't have mold. Make sure that there's a list as long as my arm of things that I could tell you that they should be checking. But a good solid RV inspector will know that list and will take care of you, and it's money very well spent. The other thing to keep in mind is that in some places, like Yellowstone National Park, a lot of their campgrounds have length limitations on them. And so you can't take a 34-foot fifth wheel to Yellowstone. But, and always I have found, with the exception of only a couple times, that when I had my 40-foot Class A, I'd never take it into Yellowstone. I drove through Yellowstone one time with it, but I wouldn't take it into Yellowstone expecting to camp, because none of the campgrounds in Yellowstone that I can think of, and I'll probably be corrected for this, but that's fine, would accommodate a 40-foot RV. It was the same with Redfish Lake, which is up in the Stanley area, up in the Sawtooth Mountains here in Idaho. One of my favorite places to go. But only some sites will have 40-foot length. So as far as how do I find that out? Well, go to recreation.gov and just type in some of the campgrounds or some of the places you think you'd like to visit. And that'll give you a sense as far as the public campgrounds what some of the length restrictions might be. So keep in mind that length can be a plus and a minus. That you're going to get restrictions sometimes about where you're going to be able to go because a lot of the campgrounds, like a lot of the campgrounds in Yellowstone, were built by the CCC back during the Depression. They never imagined people driving around in 40-foot Class A, 43, 45-foot Class A motorhomes with tag axles, pulling a pickup that's 20 feet long, so you're getting up to 65 feet in length. That's a difficult vehicle to get parked in a national park, any national park, with the exception of a few. So that's something to keep in mind as well, and that might help you moderate what size rig you want to get. If you plan to spend a lot of time camping in national park campgrounds, national forest campgrounds, and stuff like that, you're probably going to find that a longer fifth wheel probably won't fit. But you probably will find that in the area around those those national parks or national forests or places you want to stay, you're going to find commercial RV parks that can accommodate your rig. A perfect example again is Yellowstone, one of my favorite places to visit. And just outside of Yellowstone, and on the Idaho side, is Henry's Lake State Park. It's an Idaho state park, and they have, the campground. They have one of their campgrounds there that can accommodate any length rig. The same with the Bill Fromm County Park, which is near there. It's Fremont County is the county in Idaho where that's adjacent to Yellowstone Park, or West Yellowstone, that is. And they have a nice county park there. It's a dry camp place. So, but they can accommodate any length rig. So I've found that in my travels, even though I wasn't able to stay, say, in the national park, I could find I could find a place nearby, and then trip into the park with my toad, or in your case, you're going to have a pickup. So you leave the fifth wheel and you take the truck and you go. So the fifth wheels, I think fifth wheels are a good option for full time, and because then you don't have to deal with a toad. You're got your rig, you're ready to go. So I hope that helps, Metroid, with your getting started on looking for a fifth wheel. Oh, Tom Downey says, we use the trailer when the toys won't fit in the Jeep. Yeah, and that's the thing about a toad, that's really nice, is that you can store stuff in your toad. And I did a lot. So that's a good point, Tom. Thank you. Tom's going to be stopping off at, sounds like in Quartzsite as well. That's great. Okay, got a question here from Eric Myers. How to keep my 6-volt DC gel batteries from corroding? Well, it's nearly impossible. But what I would recommend is that get some corrosion prevention washers. They're super cheap on Amazon. In fact, I think you will find them in one of my Amazon stores. There's a link in the description for this video. They're just a little felt washer that are treated with a chemical, and you put them underneath the battery posts on the terminal, and they work really well to prevent corrosion. Now, they're not going to totally prevent it, but they're going to help keep it down. So I would recommend that you look for those battery corrosion washers. And then also there's battery terminal spray, and that's really useful stuff as well. You coat the battery terminals with this spray that's an anti-corrosion type spray, and that will help keep the corrosion down on them. But it's nearly possible to stop it totally. But the corrosion washers and the battery terminal protector sprays work extremely well, and I would recommend those. Two Feathers asks a question of Camp Goer 1. She may or not be still able to be connected since she mentioned they were buffering. But she wanted to know if they're doing the Balloon Festival in Lake Havasu this year. Tim Myers comments, and this is a good one. We're back to talking about toads now, towable vehicles. Be careful with older Jeeps. Not all of the transfer cases have the outpush shaft driven oil pumps. Forget which do and which don't. Do your homework. Totally agree. Um, totally agree with that. Oh, Tom Downey mentions RV TV has a bunch of vids on Quartzsite. Yes, they do. Larry McBride. Hi, Larry. From coming and calling, checking in from snowy Arkansas. He had 11 to 12 inches of snow hit the ground. Yeah, I spoke to my dad, and he was whining about the snow. The thing about it is, snow in Arkansas don't last long. Tom Downey, new tools, nice, yeah. But I don't know. Two feathers, never get rid of the tools. Yeah. Well, and what I got rid of was, thing like I got miter saw, table saw, that kind of stuff, which would have been a little bit more difficult to store. But yeah, so now I'm having to, buy a miter saw. Maybe I might need a table saw. I'm actually looking at a track saw. I think those might be a little better. But yeah, so if you're just checking in, I want to say thank you so much for coming in. Drop us a comment over in the chat window to let us know where you're watching from tonight. If you have a question, be sure and ask that. We're talking about tows. We're talking about, things that you should be thinking about when you're wanting to buy a new RV. And I'm going to talk about the drone here for a minute because Aaron actually commented and I scanned over it, but I'll come back to it real quick. He mentioned that the DJI Mini 2 is the best drone for $300. I bought a DJI drone and I had had it for about 3 days. And I was up in a place called Palisades Reservoir, which is north of me. Well, I was actually staying up at a place called the Juniper Campground. And so I thought, well, I'll fly my drone over Palisades and get some nice shots of the reservoir and stuff like that. And the drone took off, flew out about 150 feet. Everything was great. There were no warnings. The battery was full, everything. And then it just took off, and I never found it again. I'm sure it's sitting at the bottom of the lake somewhere. So I just never reinvested in a drone. I see a lot of really cool shots, and I think a drone would be really fun to have. And I'll probably get one again. But yeah, that's why I haven't really researched drones, because I still have kind of a bitter taste in my mouth about them. And but I'll probably get one eventually. Yeah, Tom Downey comments, and I sort of alluded to this, but when you're looking at a new rig, build quality is super important. Stick with a good manufacturer. The Montanas are extremely well-built RVs. Montanas. I can't say this. I don't want to get into this, Fords and Chevys kind of an argument. But check the quality, do your homework, and then have it inspected. I think you'll probably find those are really, that's some pretty good advice. Two feathers. Oh yeah, national parks. Some national parks limit your length. Absolutely. Tom, one of these days, Tom has been. I love teasing Tom, and this is all in good fun. I'm never, never really have any malice towards anybody. But yeah, he's been really busting my chops about this camper I'm rebuilding. That's all good. Two feathers, a large refrigerator and a large table to do projects was important to me. Yeah, that's good. And I'll tell you right now, the fridge is really important, particularly if you're going to full-time. I list, among the top upgrades I did to my Class A, the replacing the RV fridge with the residential was, it's hard to say what the best upgrade was because I did several. I put the tankless water heater in. I put the flooring in, the hard, that kind of flooring in, that kind of stuff. The bamboo flooring. I'll get it out. And so those projects come to mind as the best ones. But the fridge really changed the RV experience for me, because then it became like living in a house. I had a nice big freezer, a nice big fridge. It wasn't a burden to keep it cold. Uh, it was set and forget kind of thing. So, anyway, Peter has a question here. He says, TR, how can adjust the slide out horizontally on a 2002 Mini Winnie Mini? It needs to be adjusted to the right, driver's side, about half an inch to an inch. Okay, I can't tell you specifically about the Mini Winnie, but the slides are adjustable. I would recommend that if you go over to IRV2 and get into the Winnebago, the Mini Winnie forum, and you're going to find somebody there that can give you exact instructions, that has done it. It's not terribly difficult. I had to adjust my slide once in the 9 years that I owned my RV, and it wasn't terribly hard, to be honest with you. I did have to go buy a big old crescent wrench because I didn't have a wrench big enough to get on this one nut. And so I just went and bought a crescent wrench. Not the optimal wrench, but I think I bought it because it was more flexible as far as using it, and that's why I ended up with it. So, Peter, I can't tell you exactly how to do it on your Winnie, but IRV2 is going to be a great resource, and if you get into the owners, the model owners forums, you're certain to find somebody that's done it, and it's usually not that difficult. Metroid, coming back, we were talking about picking a fifth wheel to live in full time. So he says, I'm locked into the Houston area for the next few years for work. I work construction in that large area, so a moving home is optimal. Gotcha. No truck yet, so I'll be relying on hot shots friends. Okay, totally understood. Yeah, so since you're going to be living in it full time, you're going to be in the Houston area, you're going to definitely want to make sure that your AC checks out and is working extremely well, because there's nothing like being in an RV in a hot climate in the middle of the summer and not having AC. Eric Myers is asked, is an electric awning with wind protection adjustable? Yes, typically. There will be a control box somewhere. Let me ask this question, Eric. Are you talking about adjusting the sensitivity of the wind sensor, or just adjusting the awning itself? If you could answer that question, then I might be able to give you a more directed answer. Steve Swanson, and this is a good point. A thin layer of grease works good for battery terminals, Eric. I used Vaseline, and in fact I still do Vaseline on my terminals, and yeah, it works pretty good, but I've never found anything that will completely keep the terminals clean, free of corrosion. While I'm thinking about it, I made some changes to my lighting and to the setup on my camera and stuff like that. And so just a quick question, how's the video quality tonight? I'm watching the stream. It looks really excellent. I mean, it looks really solid, 5x5. The audio looks really solid, but it's hard for me, and I'll go back and watch the restreams, the replay. And but on the live stream side of it, you're not buffering. Everything is in good shape, right? Everything, it's a good solid video quality tonight. Question. Okay. Tom says he has the Hollystone 720 and love it. Okay, good to know. Tim Myers, he says, I have something new going on with my chassis air system. When I start the engine, the rear tank indicates 75 psi or more even after sitting for a couple of weeks. So Tim, have you pulled the lanyards to drain the tanks? Typically on systems that use air brakes, anything like that, there will be a way to drain the tanks. And the reason I'm asking this is that you might have a stuck pressure regulator, so it might just be, not indicating properly. And the way to tell that is to pull the lanyards on those air tanks and dump all the air out. And if it still reads 75, then you got a problem with your pressure sender, and you might need to get it replaced. So that's one way to be able to test that, is just dump the air out of those tanks. The other is that maybe it's just holding air that well, unless it's not done that before. So in other words, if in the past it didn't hold 75 psi after sitting for a couple of weeks, then that tells me that maybe something's going on. I suspect it's just the regulator, or excuse me, it could just be that something's froze up, because you're out in Ohio, it gets cold there, and so there might have been a little bit of moisture in there that might have froze something, maybe like the air port for your pressure sensor or something like that, and so it might only be a temporary thing. But yeah, blowing all the air off the tanks, if it still reads 75, then you might have something like the pressure sender that could be frozen, or maybe it's just failed and you have to replace it. Fortunately, they're not terribly expensive. Eric Myers is in Quartzsite now. Awesome. Wish I was. Aaron Jemison says, Augusta Wind, download the UAV forecast app. It will help you decide when to fly or not. And no drones in national parks. Actually, Aaron, they've changed that. You can fly in some national parks, not all, but you need to check the local restrictions. But yeah, that's a good point. Metroid says, this is the first I'm hearing about hiring an inspector. I'll definitely look into that. Yeah, an inspector is money well spent, because they're going to come in, they have no vested interest. Okay? So don't expect, if you're going to a dealer, don't expect the dealer's inspector, he's got a vested interest. If you hire an independent guy, and in Houston you're going to find independent inspectors, make sure they're certified. There's a company out there, there's an organization that certifies RV inspectors. Make sure they're certified, so they're not just Joe Blow who puts an ad up there on the web that says, I'm a RV inspector, call me and pay me. But it's a couple $100 well spent. It could save you a lot of heartburn down the road. So yeah, I think an inspector is good. Tim Myers, he says, the front tank, however, indicates 0 psi at startup, but fluctuates between 0 and a pressure equal to the rear tank for about 5 minutes, and then all settles down and the tanks show equal pressure. Yeah, it sounds to me like something sticky. You might have something frozen, but it sounds to me like there's something sticky in there in the air system. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. There's just something sticky. There's a sticky valve or something in that air system. Okay. Yeah, it sounds like a pressure sensor issue. Yes, Tim. Or it could be a sticky valve somewhere in that system that's causing, the rear tank to stay pressurized even after the pressure's off. Tom Downey says, push the button for home and it goes home and lands. Okay, so we're talking about drones. I've got to be honest with you right now. I did everything. That drone just got a mind of its own, and I don't know what happened to it, but it just flew off. There was absolutely nothing wrong with it. I had used it, I mean, everything was working, but it just, it just blew its mind and away it went, and I just watched $1,000 fall out of the sky, never to come back again. And so, yeah, it put a bad taste in my mouth. Scott Moguch says another vote for the DJI Mini 2, perfect small platform drone, and that was a sad story. Yeah. Secret Agent Man, hi. Great to have you here tonight. Aaron has got a good reminder. If you see someone here that you don't know, take a moment to head over to their channel, if they have one, and subscribe. Leave a comment, become their friend. They might just do the same. Steve Swanson, thanks for the update. Fred in North Dakota, good. Thank you. Tim Myers, picture is better. I noticed it when first logged on. Thanks, Tim. Yeah, I tried to adjust the lighting a little bit, and then also I made a few tweaks and changes to OBS, which is the program I use for the streaming to connect to YouTube. It's, maybe if there's some interest, I could do a video or maybe show you guys how it all works behind the scenes here one of these next weeks. Okay, Tim says that the picture's better. Notice it. Okay, good. Try converting to iridium. No more corrosion. I think sounds like your voice recognition probably got iridium instead of lithium. Lithium, yeah, no corrosion. Okay, you want to adjust the wind sensor. Yeah, typically there is a place, wherever the control box is, where everything comes together, there's going to be a control box, and there'll be some adjustments that you can make. But typically, you're going to have to probably get online and do some scrounging to find how to adjust that for the wind sensor. Because it could be there. You might have to take the cover off the box. You might get lucky and find a variable resistor, little pot inside that you can adjust. And for the wind sensor, is it too sensitive? Is it too sensitive? Is it bringing the awning in when there's really not a lot of wind? Tom Downey says my Spartan is automatically purged. Yeah, so does my Freightliner. When the tanks top off, they blow off, and that helps blow out a lot of that blows off a lot of the moisture that can accumulating in an air brake system. Most air brake systems have that, and dryers as well. Roundtown Scouter reports he's running at 240p. Poor internet. Yeah, totally get you there. Oh, Tom has an automatic alcohol injection. That's good. Automatic alcohol, what that does is it helps keep the system moisture free. Vincent Bus to RV Life, NRVIA, National RV Inspectors Association. Thank you, Vincent. Yes. I should say Bruce, but we'll say Vincent. Yeah, Tim, try pulling the lanyards, blow the tanks off fully, and then see if that rear tank's still reading 75. If it is, then I suspect you have something sticking. And again, because since you're in cold climate, it could be just a little bit of moisture in the system causing a valve to be froze up. Aliens absconded with my drone, yeah. That was an expensive lesson. Even if I get another drone, I won't be flying it over any big lakes soon, that's for sure. Let's see here. Tom uses WD-40 instead of alcohol. Yeah. You cannot fly, Aaron says, you cannot fly a drone inside any national park under 36 Code of Federal Regulations, Section 1.5, since 2014, and still in places of January 21, commercial and recreational flyers. Yeah, I was just thinking that I read somewhere. I'm going to refrain from commenting on that, but we will revisit that. I got to go back and reread this article I read, and so I can talk intelligently about that, because I thought I read somewhere that they had Aaron says as of 2021. So I don't know. Maybe what I read was incorrect. I'm going to move on, and we'll come back to that. Scott Mogich says, my first drone got attacked by a goose over the water, so I feel your pain, but I got back in the game. To be honest, I was chasing them around, and one retaliated. That's funny. By the way, if you would like to check out Aaron's channel, he has a great channel, and he's put a link there in the chat window, and yeah, so go over and check out Aaron's channel. It's really good. Maddie Lawrence, hi Maddie, so nice to have you here. I'm wanting to get a Class C RV, 23 foot. What is considered high mileage for a used one? Okay, that's a good point. It's 8 o'clock. I'm going to answer that question. But can you give me just 1 second? I need to go get some water. I'll be right back. Let me go get some water. Okie doke. Thank you so much for your patience. I was just noticing, man, I need to clean my coffee cup. Look at that, the lip marks on it. Oh well. Okay, so we got a question about what is considered high mileage. Let's talk about mileage on any RV. My argument with mileage is that low mileage on an RV, depending upon its age, is a warning sign. RVs are built to be vehicles, okay? Self-propelled vehicles, Class A, B, C type RVs. Those vehicles are built to be driven. Manufacturers, they've engineered them that they're going to move, and so that keeps your oil, your seals, everything like that lubed up, moving, and that keeps them in good shape. Finding an RV with low mileage that's older, let's say 10 years old, and I see this all the time. I see people bragging, I just got a 2010 XYZ with only 12,000 miles on it. Well, if you sit down and you figure that out, that's 1,000 miles a year. That is nothing. So, to answer your question, Matey, or is it Maddie? Matey, I'll just say Maddie. I would look for an RV, Class C, 23-footer, in that range. If you got, depending upon your manufacturer, assuming it's probably going to be on a Ford type chassis, because that's a lot of the Class C's come on Ford chassis. If you're under 50 or 75,000 miles, you'll probably be okay. You start to get up around 100,000 miles, 80, 100,000 miles, that's when you probably might run into a bit more maintenance. But my argument is that if the vehicle hasn't been driven a lot, you're probably going to be into more maintenance in a low mileage vehicle than you will be in a high mileage vehicle. So I would say that, you know, 80,000 miles and under, but over, depending upon the year, you know, 3 to 5,000 miles a year, I think would be a good number to keep in mind. So if you have a 10-year-old RV with 50,000 miles on it, you should be in good shape. Kahuna Pal asks, can you use Camco septic treatment with the borax? Yes. I think you'll find that you don't need it, but yes, you can. Tom Downey says, blow it out with WD-40, see what happens. Yeah, that's a good one. We're talking about Tim's air issue, and yeah, so blow it out with some WD-40. That's a good one. Eric Meyer says it's too sensitive. Okay, so yeah, Eric, there's going to be a way to adjust that. It's going to be manufacturer specific. I would dig around on the web a little bit and see what you can find out. I'd be happy to help you. If you can let us know what type, model of an RV awning you have, I'll see what we can do, if we can dig into it and help you out on how to adjust that. I could tell you right now electronically how to do it, but I wouldn't want to see I need to look at the rig or the actual thing and figure it out. But yeah, it could be done, no problem. Tim Meyer says he remembers being connected to an automatic alcohol injection when he was stationed at Ellison Air Force Base. That's pretty funny. Thank you, Kahuna Pal. Thank you very, very much. I love having you here in our live stream tonight. Tom Downey, yeah. Tom Downey says there is a big difference between commercial and regional flyers. Yeah, recreational. Your voice recognition is wonky tonight, Tom. Yeah, there is a big difference, but under 400 feet is, you know, that's where you want to be in a drone. Actually, the next time I get a drone, I'm going to go ahead and get my commercial drone pilot's license. What is that, Part 107? Is that what I think that's what it was. But yeah, I'll go ahead and get that commercial license as well. Technically, to show drone footage on YouTube, you would need a commercial license if you're going to follow the rules strictly, you know, to the letter. Because YouTube, if you're monetizing your vehicles, monetizing your videos, that's a commercial activity. And if you read the rules strictly, which the FCC or the FAA tends to do, you would want to get a commercial license to stay within. Now, they're pretty flexible on it. I think they're not really cracking down on a lot of folks. Well, I know they're not. But yeah, so that's a good point. Fred ND says size of drone also matters. Yeah, it does. The bigger drones are more stable in windy conditions for sure. Yes, exactly, Tom. That's, I think, what I just mentioned. But yeah, if you are making money selling the feds, you are commercial and must comply with FAA requirements. Yes. Roundtown Scouter. We like to boondock, but I now have to use a BiPAP, PAP, and O2 concentrator. Don't want to bother anyone by running the generator all night. Suggestions. Yes. Do you currently have lithium batteries? I helped some friends of mine, some older friends. This has been four years ago, right after I started RVing, that were in the RV park next to me, and they had the same thing. His wife needed a BiPAP and O2 concentrator. And what we did was is we put lithium batteries in. The reason is many fold over, but you know, the dirty little secret with lead acid batteries is you can really only use half um, of the capacity of the battery, whereas with a lithium battery you can use nearly all of it. And so what we did was we sat down and we did a budget as far as how much power the O2 concentrator and the CPAP, or BiPAP, used overnight, and then we built their system to have that plus a full day's energy. And it worked out that we put 6 lithium batteries in their rig. They had a nice big Class A, so we were able to cram 600 amp lithium batteries in it, and that worked out great for them. I see that. I thought I saw a comment from Tim. Yeah, they offer battery-powered CPAPs. Not sure about the O2 concentrator. Well, they do, but the battery-powered O2 concentrators don't typically have a lot of usable life on them. You know, I mean, when I say usable life, the time. Some people that live near my dad in Arkansas, the gal, she's got one of those portable oxygen concentrator widgets, but her battery is only good for about an hour, and so she carries a couple of batteries with her. So, yeah, I think what you would want to do is sit down and figure out a budget. I'd be happy to help you do this. You know, about how much power you're going to need. And then that way at least you can run that CPAP overnight and your O2 concentrator. You have battery capacity. And then in the day when it's not obnoxious, run the generator, recharge your batteries. And it's a pretty simple math problem, but I'd be happy to help you with that. If you need help, just reach out to me, kick me an email, trboland@gmail.com. In fact, you can submit your questions in advance, and we can work through the details on that, and I'll help you figure out how much battery capacity you need to make sure you can run those all night, both of them. Metroid 2099 is questioning, they're wanting to get an RV that they're going to live in full time, and the statement they state, I've seen a lot of RV users keeping an arsenal of tools at the ready. Do RVs require constant maintenance? Well, they're like a house, and so yeah, there's going to be maintenance that you're going to have to do, but you don't have to have a lot of tools. And in fact, we've chatted about this before on the stream, and there's some basic hand tools you need. And I'll just tell you right now, a decent socket set. Not expensive. Buy one of those cheap ones. You can get them at Harbor Freight, or you can support the channel, go to Amazon and buy one through Amazon. But a good socket set with metrics in US, that's going to come in handy anywhere. Then, you know, your basic hand tools, a hammer, some screwdrivers, maybe a cordless drill, that kind of stuff. With those basic tools, you're going to be able to do 80% of the repair work you need to do in the RV. But yeah, you're going to need to do minor maintenance and repairs. A hinge might come loose. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's just simple stuff like that. But a basic tool set is all you really need if you're going to do maintenance. And yes, they do require maintenance, some more than others, and it's going to be dependent upon their age. As RVs age, just like a house, you know, more things require maintenance. So, but don't let that detract from it. It's basic maintenance stuff. Just about anybody can do. Since you're going to be right in the Houston area, probably moving from construction site to construction site or something like that, you're probably fine. And even if you don't have the skills for it, I'll bet you that you're going to find somebody that does, and buy them a 6-pack They could probably come over and help you out if you're not skilled or you don't have the tools or the skills to fix something like that. So yeah, a basic set of tools is all you need. You don't have to have anything fancy. Thanks, Tom. Yes, part 107. Tim Myers, responding to Roundtown Scouter, check the CPAP sales sites. Yep, they make battery-powered CPAPs. Tom Downey says, guess what Tom does with the fat? Fat equals FAA. Well, let's see. Tom is a drone crash investigator. That's a guess. Let's see. Eric Myers. 06 Fleetwood Discovery has one of the relays has a slot in it. Yeah, I need to know the model of the awning, Tom. Eric, excuse me. Model of the awning. And then I could probably help you research that and tell you. I know how I would adjust it but I want to look up the equipment, and it's probably as simple as just adding a resistor in the circuit to reduce the amount of to change the amount of resistance. Well, anyway, we won't get into the weeds on that. Two Feathers adds, duct tape can be a lifesaver. Yeah, it's good to keep a roll of duct tape, that kind of stuff in your toolkit there, Metroid. Tom says, and this is true, if you are making money for making videos, you are a commercial operation. Yes. Part 107, he recommends understand commercial versus private. Yes, good point. Metroid says he's a pipe fitter. We get it done and fix it, mop it up if we didn't do it right. So you got the basic skills you're going to need, Metroid, to do any kind of maintenance that's going to come up in an RV. Yeah, no problem at all. In fact, you probably already have all the tools you need to. So yeah, don't let maintenance deter you. It's not a lot, and it's just basic, tightening, fixing, replacing, like I would say that in an average 2-month period, you might have to adjust or tighten up a hinge. Your drawer slides might get loose. I mean, it's simple stuff like that, which you only need basic hand tools for. Well, we've gone an hour and 15 minutes, and it has just flown by. So we'll throw out any more questions that you want to ask tonight. I would be happy to answer. Since we have just a minute here, I'm going to ask a couple questions. How is the content on the live chats? We got a pretty good audience here tonight. In fact, I've had pretty consistent audiences now for the last little while. But I've noticed on the live stream replays, I'm losing a lot of subscribers. And so am I being too repetitive? I'm just looking for a little feedback here. Do I say things sometimes that maybe are offhanded, or, I'm just trying to understand, the value of the content. I mean, I think there's value here. I don't know of anywhere else that you can go and ask live questions and run into a group of people like this. Guys that have been doing this for a very long time, like myself and Tom and Tim and, Aaron, and a lot of the guys and gals that are on the live stream have a lot of experience with RVing, and typically, one of us is going to have seen this before, a problem or question or those sorts of things. And so I'm just curious, do you find value? Good night, Richard, and we'll chat with you soon. And that's a good point, Fred. If you need maintenance, watch a YouTube video. And I have tons on my channel already. I think there's something like 70 odd RV how-to videos around some of its maintenance, some of its improvements right on my channel. And you can always come in the chat here and ask a question. If you have a maintenance problem that you can't sort out, feel free, because, you know, like I say, we've got we've got great people on here. Tom, again, Tim, Larry McBride's been RVing for a long, long time. We've all run into problems, and so I feel like it's okay. I don't worry. I don't watch. I gotta be honest with you. I don't watch the subscriber count too closely, but when I do go look at it and I see I lost 15 subscribers on a video, I have to ask myself, did I say something that offended people? Anyway, there's one thing I do want to mention tonight, which is totally off track from RVing, but people might find this useful, is that covidtest.gov, covidtest.gov. You can go there right now. This is through the United States government. Sign up. They will send you 4 in-home COVID tests for free. They're supposed to start shipping at the end of the month. But if you are having a hard time, I was, after I was complaining last week about my eyes being all crusty and, not feeling well, I thought maybe I'd try to get a COVID test, and you could not find one in any store where I'm at in eastern Idaho. They had sold out. Now, of course, with this thing exploding and all that, but I just wanted to let folks know that, or on the stream, you can now get 4 free COVID tests by going out to covidtest.gov. It's working through the post office, but yeah, it's a really simple sign up. Put your name, your shipping, mailing address, bing, bang, boom, you're done. And I'll let you know how it turns out, but that just started today. So you might, if you'd like to have the peace of mind to have one on hand, you can get up to 4 of them. Well, they'll send you 4 for free. So just a tip there. Okay, so back to the chat window. Thanks, Richard. He says the content's very good. Tom Downey, he says, keep up. We joined because we want to share. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, that's why I'm doing this. Myself, is I want to share. Larry McBride says, great. I learn something every time, and I have an older rig, something always breaking. Yeah, there's always stuff to be maintained, that's for sure. Judy Kimbrough, content is great. Thank you, Judy. Tim Meyer says, I think some people come in for help, get that help, and then leave. Some of us have questions, but also like to help others if we can. Precisely, Tim. Thank you. Two Feathers, thank you very much. Loves the content. Steve Pendleton, I just found you tonight, and I think this is a great idea. Everyone needs to share their Facebook user groups, etc. Thank you. Thank you very much, Stephen. That's great feedback. Chuck Fett, thank you, Chuck. Content is great. Tom Downey, we watch because you are here. Thank you so much, Tom. Maddie Lawrence, you have a wealth of helpful knowledge. Content was good. Thanks. Thanks, Maddie. Peter Winter, the value is huge. Thank you. I am recommending you to my friends even overseas. I sing know that are subscribed, but your experience and in live is awesome. Thank you very much, Peter. Eric Myers, I found your live chat. Thank you very much. Thanks, Eric. Two Feathers. I'm sticking with you to make sure that Bubbles is treated right. Bubbles is the potential name that people are lobbying for my new truck camper. It's not new, trust me. It's a 1995, and I'm in the middle of rebuilding it. I'm waiting for the weather to improve so I can get back to work on it. So I can tease Tom Downey about what the value of rebuilding an old rig is versus buying a new one. I'm teasing Tom. Scott Mogich, found your video on Blackwater tank. It was the best explanation. It led to the live videos, and it's been really helpful just listening to you. and seeing experienced RVers input. Thank you. Judy Kimbrough, ordered mine today. Excellent. Thanks, Peter. Keep going. Eric Myers, how do I know when you do this again? Every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Every Tuesday night. I have missed one since I started doing these, and I believe I started doing these late last summer, early fall last year. And so I do it every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Roundtown Scatter, there's always something I learn. Thanks, Roundtown. Tom Downey, some of us just watch because we like to yank your chain. Of course, and I love teasing you guys back. And of course, as I've mentioned, it's all lighthearted. There's no malice in any way, shape, or form. It's just, let's have fun. I mean, what we need is a lot less hate in this world and a lot more having fun. And so that's what I try to do. Tom Downey, Fred ND says, my opinions, there are getting so many channels. I know I've been unsubscribing to a few of the channels. I don't watch much anymore. I really like your channel. Thank you, Fred. Yeah, I go through that too. I've subscribed to channels and go through and I prune the tree every once in a while. You just can't keep up with them all. And it's a crowded field. There's lots of people doing RV content, which is why I don't do much of the travel vlogging. I will once I get started again, because I know that a lot of folks love my On the Road from the Cockpit series and travel vlogging and that kind of stuff. So I try to keep it pretty much focused on RVing and things around RVing. RL Bunge, Ron. Hi, Ron. Great to see you in tonight. He says, just lucked out and got an RV warranty plan from American RV Warranty. 3 years on his 05 Monaco wholesale warranty. And Good Sam would not cover me as the motorhome aged out. Yeah, that's good to know, because at one point I was looking at it, and yeah, I couldn't get one because of the 04. Jim Myers, yank my chain. Sounds like an old guy talking. Good one. Ron Bunch, Ron says, pricey, but $5,700 for 3 years, but wanted to do it as needed for Canada and Alaska. That's a good call. That's a good point. And $5,700 for 3 years on an older rig like that is a pretty good deal. I would agree. All right, well, we still got 25 people connected, so if there are any other questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. Comments, suggestions on things you'd like to see me cover are always welcome. And I try to focus mostly on RVing, but, I'll answer any question, just about any question. Okay, last call. Vincent Bus to RV Life, he says, my channel offers lots of value to me. I'm not aware of any other RV channel that offers live help on a weekly basis. There isn't one. And I'll be honest with you, I've said this before, it's not, I'm not, yeah, good night, Tim. Good night, Tom. Appreciate it. What am I trying to say here? The subscriber counts, the views, all that stuff, it's important, but it's not what drives me to do this. And I think people, Tim, Tom, those guys, we like to tease each other, but we're really here because we want to help people. We really do. We want to help, especially new RVers, folks, that like Metroid, who is wanting to get a fifth wheel and wanted to chat with somebody that has some experience and ask some questions. That's why we're doing this, trying to help new RVers avoid all of the pitfalls and the problems and making the mistakes that we've made in the past. And that's a lot of why I do it, is, just to, just to help folks out. Judy says, I need to know about a good TV antenna. Are you talking about one for your home or one for your RV, Judy? Tom says, time for a drink. Okay, so Peter says, any experience around a 1980 VW Westfala or a similar restoration? I would, if I could get a VW Westfala, I would rebuild and restore one in a second. An old VW bus, I think, would probably be one of the best restoration projects you could ever do. However, there's a lot of work to one of those. There's a lot of work to any restoration, but if you're thinking about doing one, I'm jealous, because that's something I would do if I could find one. Judy, for your RV. Okay, so Judy, 2 questions. Do you generally stay in more rural areas, or do you generally stay on the fringes of urban areas? Because there's 2 things that you need to know about your antenna. One of them is, how far will it see a signal? Now, and then the second is that do you have an antenna now? Because you might find that antenna is probably just fine if you're staying in more urban areas. It's when you start to get more rural, that you need to get one that has a longer distance. Now, I have pretty strong opinions about RV antennas. And so I think what I'm going to do is, rather than spend the next 15 minutes chatting about that, Judy, you being a regular viewer, I will do a segment on RV antennas. For the first segment next week. Okay? And I will tell you what you need to know and where to get one. And they're really pretty easy to install. But let's do that. That would be a good topic for next week, and we will do that as our first segment. So thanks, Judy. I hope you can wait, but I will have you a really nice conversation prepared for next week. Peter says, if I find one, I'll keep in touch. Thank you. Yes, very welcome, Peter. And Randy, thanks, TR. I always enjoy the camaraderie. Always info I find helpful and gives me great ideas for my own RV projects. Thank you so much. Well, thanks, everybody. I'm not usually so insecure. I just thought I better ask and make sure that I wasn't overlooking something or doing something that was offending folks. Typically, whether or not I'm offending somebody has not been something I'm cognizant of it, but I don't try to do it with malice or forethought. Okay. Well, we had a great chime tonight. We went an hour and a half. It felt like 15 minutes. And so I think we'll wrap her up for tonight. Again, if you want to ask questions in advance, feel free to do so. trbolin@gmail.com. You can throw your questions in there, and then we'll chat with them. We'll chat about it during the next week. It's a really nice interactive way, because I can ask you questions and we can go back and forth. Because like with Eric's awning, every awning is a little bit different, every controller is a little bit different, and I'm more than happy to go out and look stuff up. Again, electronically I could tell you exactly how to do it, but I don't know if that would work specifically with your awning controller, and I'd be happy to go out and research that for you. The last question that we'll answer tonight is from Maddie Lawrence. Are dealer warranties worth it, or should I just pass on them? Maddie, it depends. And another open-ended question that would make for good content next week. And so I will add that to the list. And we will talk about that in the second segment next week. Remember, the live streams are always available for replay. So if you're not available at 7 p.m. Tuesday Mountain Time, wherever you're at, you can always watch it at your convenience by just slipping over to the channel. And they're usually listed in with the content on my uploads if you go to my channel page. So with that, I'm going to say thank you, everybody. I just can't say thanks enough. You know, just it's a great community we have here. There's a lot of great folks that come in every Tuesday night that participate. And then there's a lot that just sit back and listen and don't comment at all. And that's perfectly fine. So thanks, everybody, so much. And we will see you next week. Until then, peace. Good night.